brought some notes in case I squirrel on you guys. But yeah, my name's Robert. I'm an addict. First off, I want to thank the God of my understanding, for that bottom I hit, and I had hit that bottom, to become willing and open-minded enough to change. That bottom, I was in prison again. I was gonna get out, and I got a letter. I had been down like 7 years, and my son, my wife left me. My wife became my ex-wife. Sancho took over. You know what I mean? They say the disease is progressive. This time that motherfucker was wearing my clothes and shit. True story. And so I got a letter from my son, and he said, "I love you, but I don't want to see you when you get out." And man, that shit hurted, man. And when my son went to Chow, that's when I read the letter, and I cried, man. I cried, man. And then when he came back, I had the mask on again, like it was all good. And thank you for sharing, Clyde. I can really relate to your story, man. Like saying we might be at different colors or like come from different places, but I can relate to that shit. And opening up and letting that stuff out, allows us to grow, like you're talking about. But first off, before I zone out, I want to thank Nancy. Happy anniversary, Nancy. Thank you for asking me out. And then my sponsors in the back, and Jeff and Ramiro. I get to work with this man, and guide him through the steps, man. What a blessing. And then yeah, an older guy too, an older homie asked me, man. Well, imagine that, an older, younger looking homie, right? And I want to thank Roxy, beautiful Roxy, man. Thank you so much. Thank you for having this door open. Hardened hearts, it gets soft right here, man. Like my heart softened, and I was able to like live differently, man. It's a trip, man. But for me, that shit started like to hit that bottom. I grew up in Alumni, SGV, and I was raised by my mom's. My mom's was old fashioned, and my father, he was born over here, and he spoke English, and my mom spoke Spanish, and so I kind of like talk. I learned how to talk Spanish to moms, and then English with my dad, and everything was good. I remember my mom's got pregnant. She was gonna have a baby, right? And it was gonna be my sister, and I found out that my dad was really my stepdad. And that shit fucked me all up, man. You know what I mean? Because I'll go to school and I'll see the guys with the kids with their dads, and I'll go, man, that's not my dad. You know what I mean? It don't look like me. I start looking at the differences at an early age, and but that man showed me how to go to work, and take care of the family, which he did, and he'll have a couple beers. But he was a good man. He's a war veteran, and he treated me like his own, and I'm grateful, man, for that man, but going to school, like I used to run around, and try to get attention, in school, and sit in the back of the class. It started at a young age, and moms would keep me in line, and so I was doing all right, till about 14. My mom's got cancer, and she had her breast removed, and the cancer traveled to her spine, and then mom, I heard she was gonna die. She was gonna die, and it was imminent death. She had a few months to live, and pops didn't want he didn't want her dying in the hospital. So he got a hospital bed in the living room, and my mom's would be there, and then she'll go to radiation treatment, and man, I could hear her moaning and groaning. Like when I would come home, I would hear her, man. And oh man, it was tough, like, I was losing my mom, like you said, like nobody gonna love you like that love that you were gonna lose from your grandma, like I knew that it was coming, and I didn't know how to deal with that, and the way I dealt with it, I stole some alcohol, which is a drug for me, from my father, from my stepfather, and I took off and I drank. I went to the school and it was dark, and I drank some alcohol, and I didn't feel nothing. You know what I mean? I wasn't hurting no more. I wasn't feeling my mom's pain no more, and I started hanging out with the homies, and my stepdad knew that I had stole his alcohol, and he's like, man, you're here fucking up, and mom's is right here dying and shit. And the love I wasn't getting at home, I was finding it out in the streets. And my mom. I remember one time I smoked. Oh no, well, I'll go back a little bit. Uh, it was me, Chacho, Klepto, and Pistachio, like the little rascals, my homeboys, right? So, so we were like. This was before I fucking drank. Right before I drank, we were addicted to games, video games. We'll play video games for hours, man. Pac-Man. This was back in the days in the '70s. Pac-Man, Defender, Asteroids. Yeah, we'll be playing for a long time, and then we did our first crime. You know, like I remember Pistachio borrowed his uncle's Scooby Doo van in the middle of the night, and we took off. And we went to this dog feeding place. No, it was an animal feeding place, and we made a line. And some Pistachio jumped over and passed the fucking bag to Klepto and Chacho, and then we got them. We filled up the van, and we took off, and we sold the food to a dog food place that bought all the dog food off of us, and they gave us our money, and we split it up, and we didn't get high at the time. We weren't getting high, and we bought McDonald's, and then we went and played more video games. You know what I mean? So it's crazy. Like the disease like was in me already. I was addicted to shit long before I used. Like the literature has taught me. Like I was addicted to shit. I'll get addicted, and anyways, back to moms. Mom's was slowly dying. Her name was Rosa, and which is Rose. Her name's Rose, and she was a beautiful flower, man, that I watched slowly wilt away. You know what I mean? And that shit hurt, man. And I didn't know how to deal with that shit. And when she passed away, I started getting high. I started running the streets. I started smoking super cools. And I started drinking and weed, whatever I could find to get out of myself. And that's where it all started. And I started going to jail. I went to jail, the county jail, for receiving stolen property, and then I went for a burglary, and then they sent me back to. I went to prison after that for a robbery, and I just started going back. I started going to prison all the time, and I started every time I go in there, I'll see people, the fellas, and they knew me, like, hey, what's going on? You're back, and and every time I came out, I had a bright ass idea. Like I'm gonna do something. I'm gonna do it. I'm not gonna get caught this time. You know what I mean? I'm not gonna use dope. I'm gonna slang dope. You know what I mean? And then I got busted. They're telling me I'll come out and I'll get told on, and bam, back in back in jail. And I got a wife during that time, and I got married, right? And I had a little boy, and the one that later on didn't want to see me because I kept fucking up, right? So I had two little boys and a wife, and I was trying to be a good dad, but I was trying to live two lives in one. And I continued going, and I was fighting a losing battle. I continued going back in and trying. I was a sucker for my own bright ass ideas. And I remember I went in and I got released, and I said, okay, I'm not gonna sell dope. I'm not gonna I'm gonna sell stolen cars. Number jobs. They used to do number jobs. They should just change the ID tag. I'm not trying to give nobody no ideas. We should change the ID tag, and then we'll sell that motherfucker like it was brand new, right back in the '80s. And I was I got busted for that shit, and there I went back, and then I got out again, and this time I'm not gonna do nothing around here. I went to the border. One of my homeboys, his dad was a coyote, and he used to smuggle people across the border. So there I went. I started smuggling people across the border. That shit was crazy, man. I'll do shit. The disease had me doing shit I would have never thought I would do. And I remember the first time I went to meet my homeboy's dad. He's an old Mexican guy, and he had a whole car lot of cars, right? And he goes, "Okay, which car you want?" And they were hooked up. They had like a compartment in them. The back seat was dug out. There was nothing in this back seat. It was you unbolt it, and there was nothing there. It was a spot right there. And then the trunk, you open it up, and it was cosmetically it looked like a regular trunk, but the seat was moved back, so there was a spot. And so I picked out a car. We checked the air, make sure the air wasn't, the tires had air in it, the shocks were good, because I'm gonna put two people in this motherfucker, right? So I go to TJ, and they said, okay, I'm gonna give you $1,000 a hit. So I was like, hell yeah, I'm gonna come up. I was always trying to come up, Tony. Like I was always looking for that get rich quick plan. You know what I mean? And that shit never worked, man. So I went, and the first ones I got, it was an old lady, man. She was an old ass old lady and an old man. And I went to this hotel and I picked them all right there. TJ, he told me where to go, and there's a bunch of people, and I said, okay, I got the old lady and the old man. All right, come on. So I show him the car, and I open the door, and the old lady gets in there, and before she goes in there, she prays, you know what I mean? And then she popped a couple pills and shit. This is true story. And I was like, oh my God. And then the man didn't fit. And I was like, oh man. And she starts crying, and he's like, no, you go. And then I'm like, man, you gonna go? You're not gonna go. You're not gonna fit. I'll come back for you, And I took off, and this was before 9/11, so I drove through the border, and you could drive right through the border, and I was like, man, she's gonna die on me, man. I'm gonna get busted. I was thinking, but I made it through. And then I went back and got the husband, and so I did that a few times, and I got busted. I got sent to the feds. I went to Oklahoma, and then I ended up in Texarkana, So it was like I continued going in and out, and it was my way of life, that's all I knew. After a while, so that bottom, I remember I was walking the yard, and I was in Centinela when I got back to state, and I had my road dog. His name's Robert, and we used to go work out, and the alarm will go off, and we had to lay down on the hot floor. It was in Centinela. It was real hot, and we had to lay down on the ground, and then we'll be all covered up, trying to wear like stuff to cover our skin, from the hot sun, and we I remember looking at him, and I'm like, man, this fucking sucks. You know what I mean? I was starting to get that moment of clarity, man. Like I didn't have nothing on the yard. I didn't have everybody had left me. They want nothing to do with me. I wasn't getting no packages, And he had a 2015 date, and I was gonna get out in 2008. So I was like, man, I ain't gonna complain. My road dog's gonna get out in 2015. I'm already gonna get out. It was like 2005. So I was there was lifers on the yard, like I ain't gonna even complain, And I remember he got a package. Robert got a package. My road dog that we used to work out with, and he gave me some little bag of candies, and there was Snickers and a couple of Jolly Ranchers, a little care package, you know what I mean? And I remember eating that fucking little chocolate, man, a little Snicker bite, and man, that shit tasted so good, you know what I mean? Because I didn't have shit. It was a taste of freedom, man. It really was, man. So man, so I'm grateful, man. I'm grateful I hit that bottom. Like Sancho took over, right? And my sons didn't want to do nothing with me, And I paroled, I paroled. I didn't have shit, I didn't have nothing. I had a pair of shorts that were made out of sheets, a white brand new sheet. They looked like cargo shorts out of PIA. And then I had a thermal, and I had some shoes from the Walking Horse catalog. And I went to I went to the house on 14th Street, and then I remember everybody's getting ready. They're like all the fellas are ironing and getting ready. One guy gave me a pair of pants. Another brother, Daryl, gave me a shirt. Because Daryl got there a week before me, and then I was like, man, like I was seeing like different. You didn't have to be my color to be looking out, because we were all going through the same thing, like he shared. Like we were all suffering from the same disease, And I we went to a meeting, and we're gonna go to a meeting. I go, okay, cool. And they said, all right, they go, there's like about 100 people. It was at the Andersons, and about 65 of them are women. And I was like, hell yeah, let's go. You know what I mean? so I got ready, and we went. We were walking, and we're walking in a group. I'm walking in a group, and the older guys, they go in the druggy van, And as I'm walking down center, I see the liquor store, man, and I want to go get high, man. Like I see that liquor store. I know you guys see the liquor store when you guys go on your little outings, man, I wanted to go, and because my normal is getting high, and alcohol is a drug for me. I drink and I'm cool, you know what I mean? I'll drink and then I'll snort a line, and then I'll smoke some weed, and then I'll gain some weight, and then I'll get on a fucking crack diet real quick, you know what I mean? So yeah, I already know, man. If I'm lucky, I'll end up back in prison making pruno. So I already played the whole tape, So I was like, I'm not going to the store, because I didn't feel. I already knew the consequences. Already knew where I was going to end up at. So we continued walking, and I smell weed because San Pedro is like where the ghetto meets the sea. Like it's real nice and pretty, right? The cliffs and the park. But man, there's some ghetto ass parts, right? So we're walking to the meeting, and I smell some weed, man, and just some weed, just like a little pinner will make me feel good. You know what I mean? But I didn't listen to the disease, man. We walked to the meeting, and we walked in, and then something remarkable happened. Motherfuckers who had used were right there living clean. They were struggling. Some of them were struggling. There was people that were like longshoremen. There was counselors. There was people living and enjoying life right there in the rooms. When they shared, they opened up, and I was like, man, they've been to the spots that I had been to. You know what I mean? And I got some hope. I believe that was my second step. Like I came to believe that a power greater than myself can, help me recover. And I went to another meeting, and the next day we went to another meeting at the what's that one, the fucking the veterans, they're upstairs, and we went there, and it was I was gonna say candlelight meeting. It was it was a candlelight meeting. I was gonna say candlelight dinner. I'm ready to go eat, but anyways, so they had the lights on, they turned off the lights, and I sat down, and this square ass dude sat next to me. And I was gonna get away from his ass because he looked like a square, right? And I don't feel normal still. Like I'm trying to adjust to that outside world, right? And and I stayed, I didn't move away from him, and then everybody was sharing, and he shared, and he told my story. I related to him, just like you told my story. I related to that shit. Somebody opened up and shared what they had gone through, and I related to him, and I went and talked to him after the meeting. I go, man, you told my story. I was gonna move away from you, but man, you told my story, man. You read my mail, man. And he looked at me and he told me, keep coming back. You'd be surprised what Narcotics Anonymous will do for you. And that shit was like, give me some chills in my head. It gives me chills to my head right now, because I'm surprised what Narcotics Anonymous is doing for me, man. It's crazy. So then I asked him if he would come and see me, at a sponsor pass, and he gave me a card. And I go, man, that card, that fool, man. He gave me a card that said Herbalife and Tony C. I said, this motherfucker ain't gonna come, you know what I mean? Because the disease always said, like, nobody cares, nobody loves me, man. Like when mom's passed away, that love that you felt from grandma, that shit was gone. So my pops, my stepdad, he loved me, but he started drinking and stuff. So like I ran the streets, you know what I mean? And so the disease told me, man, that fool ain't gonna come, man. And he goes, where you at? And I told him, and he goes, yeah, I'll be there in about 2 weeks. So we were fucking doing a bunch of meetings, going to the park. I was breaking fucking color barriers, playing basketball with different races, because we're all still, the prison shit don't work, you know what I mean? I started getting some friends, you know what I mean? And we started getting to know each other, man. We'll go through that feeling wheel, man, and start reading that feeling wheel. Like, I didn't know what I was feeling. So I started looking at the wheel, and then I went in there and started writing these letters, and I was putting it out there, man. Like, we were crying in them. We were crying in them groups, man. And there was a homie, Bird, he used to be all serious, and he used to look at me like, oh, man, Rob, you gonna read a letter today? And he'd be like, fuck, because it was on, you know what I mean? And I was letting all that shit out, I was letting all that shit out. It was crazy, man. I remember we went to a group, and it was we went to lunch, and then we went to the garage, and then Vicky, I don't know if you guys know Vicky Elias, yeah. She she was running the group in the garage, and she's like, "All right, I'm gonna teach you guys how to meditate." You know what I mean? Just lean back in the chair and don't think of nothing, right? And I'm leaning back in the chair and I'm relaxing. And I'm thinking, "Oh man, I'm gonna go get Sancho's there. I'm gonna go get that food." You know what I mean? I gotta sell some dope. You know, I gotta make some money, man. I gotta do a robbery. I gotta do something. You know, I like, what am I gonna do? Right? I'm broke. You know, and the guy next to me started snoring. I was supposed to be meditating, right? And then I looked at him and I was like, man, this motherfucker's snoring and shit, right? And I looked through the window and I seen the square walk by for me, man. You know, and that's when the readings came to life. Like, just for that day, I have faith in narcotics and someone who believed in me and wanted to help me in my recovery, right? And Tony walked by, you know, he went up there and I was gone on a sponsor pass, you know what I mean? It's crazy. So I started working the steps with this man, you know, and I started going to his pad, and there was other sponsor brothers there, and they were like ahead of me, like 10 years, and then I would see, I would talk to them, and they knew I was on fire, you know. One of them, his name was Jeff, and he was working in the refineries. He was a superintendent, and anyways, he told Tony, you know, I'm gonna hook him up. I'm gonna hook him up with the job, you know, and he's doing good. He's doing the step work, and he's going to meetings, you know. He's going to, my sponsor always say, go to meetings, call your sponsor, work your steps, and be a service, right? And you live the program, right? And that's what I was doing, and I still do it to this day. I still do this was in 2008, you know, so I got 15 years clean now, you know, and I don't say that to boast about what I'm doing. I'm saying that to brag about what the Narcotics Anonymous has done in my life. You know what I mean? It got me a higher power, you know, and I started practicing the stuff I learned in the rooms. I started practicing out there, and that's when the magic of the program happens. It's crazy. I mean, God's will is crazy, you know? And it's not religious, you know, it's just spiritual, man. I feel good in the motherfucker, right? And I get to help people, you know what I mean? And I get to go and show up at the treatment centers, you know, and I hook them up. I bring them a burrito, man. I remember I used to go to Tony's pad. I used to go to Tony's pad. That motherfucker will always be making sloppy joes and shit, right? And I finally figured it out. Like, man, you fucking tiger, why you making sloppy? He goes, it's fucking cheap, and you could make some and put it away. And I used to clown him, right? We always clown each other. And I said, man, I'm gonna call him Sloppy Tony. You know what I mean? We started calling him Sloppy Tony. But so yeah, we were working our steps, you know. I was working 1, 2, and 3, you know, and then a new sponsor brother will come, and then I'll go back to step 1, 2, and 3, and I'm like, Tony, man, what's up? I'm ready for step 4, you know what I mean? And he's like, no, just relax, you know, you got to get these steps right, you know. He can't, let him. Steps 1, 2, and 3, I can't, he can't, let him. So I just started practicing that, right? And then I remember Jeff told me, hey, I got a job for you. You know, that job I was telling you guys. So I went, and he goes, it's all set up. You're ready. You're gonna make. Just go over there and get the paper. So I go over there. I drive over there. I had a little bucket, a little Toyota Corolla, and I went, and the guy gave me the safety guy gave me a paper, and I had my name typed up, you know, and I was gonna make $24 an hour, you know. It's a 2-year gig in the refinery at ExxonMobil. I was like, hell yeah, I'm good, right? And then he goes, yeah, just here's a bottle, you know, go in the bathroom and piss in that bottle, man, and don't flush, and you're good. And I was like, hell yeah, I'm clean, Roxy, I'm clean, right? I'm not worried about it. I went in there and filled that cup up, and I flushed the toilet, man. And then the guy opened the door and he goes, what'd I tell you, man? And I was like, fuck, man, it's a habit, you know, flush the toilet, wash your hands, you know. He goes, I told you not to flush. He's getting irritated. He goes, I'm gonna have to check you, you know what I mean? So yeah, no problem. I ain't got nothing, right? So I started emptying my pockets, you know, and I undo my belt, you know, I turn around and I'm about to squat and cough. I was about to squat and cough. You know what I mean? I was institutionalized. You know what I mean? That's all I knew. You know what I mean? I was gonna show him my rosca and shit, right? And then he's like, hey, what are you doing? You know, he looked at it, and then And then I was gone. I took off, man. I was like, man, I fucked it up. I fucked up, man. I'm driving away. I'm driving away. I'm like, man, I fucked up. I fucked that up, man. And then my sponsor brother called me, and he was cracking up. He's a superintendent. He goes, don't worry about it, Robert. I go, Jeff, I'm sorry, I'm institutionalized. It's all right. He goes, it's all right. It's gonna go away, man. We don't have to live like that no more. You know what I mean? And so I got the job, and then I started going, I started continuing working my steps, and I got a Class A, and then I got a crane license, and I started operating equipment in there, and my life began to change. It's crazy. I will go visit I'll go visit my sons, and my mother-in-law, she would not open the fucking door, and I'll knock on the door and they wouldn't open the door, and I'm gone, fuck it. At least I tried, Antonio would tell me, take somebody with you, in case you go do something stupid. And I was like, man, I ain't gonna do nothing. I ain't gonna take nobody, you know. And my mother-in-law, the arch nemesis, she'll open the door, she'll slam the door when she see me, because she had the sheriff's on redial, like real quick. She'll pull out her phone like we pull out a gun. She'll pull out her phone and press the sheriff's on me real quick, call the sheriff's on me. But I remember she opened the door one time because I had went every 2 weeks for about 3 months, and she goes, you know what? Melissa's content. That's my ex-wife. She's happy, and she has a baby, and we don't want to see you. And I looked at her and I told her, you know what? I'm just grateful that you guys are okay. My biggest fears was I was never gonna know where you guys went. And then she says, "Oh, we're fine without you." She's not rubbing it in, and I was gone. But I continued going back, and as I was little by little, I was able to fucking see my kids. One day I went back, and my ex opened the door, and then she goes, "Come on." She goes, "Hey, your dad's here." And then bam, I started talking to him, and I'll get supervised visits with them, and if I went to take them out to eat, my mother-in-law had to come along too. And I was like, "Fuck." And then one time we went to one of those buffets, you know what I mean? And it was after church. I had to go to church and meet them at church and to see my kids, but I don't care. I was willing to do whatever. And then we were all gonna go out to eat after. So I said, all right, fuck it, let's go. And my tree, we go eat at the buffet, and it's Sancho, the new baby, my ex-wife, and my sons, you know what I mean? And it's okay, like I was cool, like I wasn't tripping no more, like I was free of all of my old behaviors, and I wasn't tripping no more. Like my sponsor told me, just look at it like if he took over payments and shit. And I was like, oh yeah, he took over payments. But so yeah, man, it was a trip, so I started working my steps. I worked all my steps, and I worked my traditions with this man, and then I found that freedom, like having had that spiritual awakening as a result of working the steps. I was able to help somebody, you know what I mean? And then I remember helping this guy over, Johnny Melendez, in the night. I was living up on 22nd. I was renting a room in the back, and I had a sponsor at Fred Brown's, and I was out there, and we were on one. We were talking about the steps. I had worked all night, like I had worked all day, like I did today, and I was still practicing my recovery, right? And we were working step one, and we were talking, and the cops came. I don't know if you remember, Roxy. The cops came, and they jacked us up, right there by the alley, and like, man, we're clean, man. They didn't do nothing, and this is my sponsor. And then people came out like, oh, what are they doing? And then Roxy said, oh, you can't. She was gonna say he can't come over, but then she found out, he could come over anytime, because I was giving back, and I was on a good one, like I was on a sick one before, and now I'm on a good one. It's crazy. I get alive helping others. It's a trip, man. Coming right here to talk to you guys, man. You're me, you know what I mean? You guys are me. You're a mirror of me. Whether you're a woman, you're black, you're white, it don't matter. We suffer from the same disease. So I found a newcomer. I had 2 years. My sponsor was gonna go share, and my sponsor had a year, Justin, and he was gonna share in Orange County, and I went with him, and he told me, hey, you want to be my opening speaker? Because I'm nervous, man. I go, yeah, don't trip, we'll go. So we went, rolled out there, and I was his 10-minute speaker, and I shared. And he goes, man, take 15, man, I'm nervous. And then he shared, and he was fine, And then I met this girl, and she was a newcomer, and she had, I say she had a month, but I had 2 years, and she had 10 days or some crazy shit, right? And oh man, the looks I got from fucking ladies, man, like what, and I was like, man, but anyways, today I have 15 years, she has 13 years, we're married, we got married, and we got a son, and he's 10 years old, he's gonna be 11. I named him Tony after the square, and yeah, it's amazing, man. This program's crazy. Like I get to be a father, and I get two lives in one. Like I still go visit my other sons. I take them out to eat. I've been bowling with them. I put on those funny shoes, and then Sancho was there. I swear to God, Sancho was right there, and that motherfucker was trying to outdo me, right? I never bowled in my life. You know what I mean? I'm just trying not to fall in those funky ass shoes. You know what I mean? You ever been bowling, Ramiro? Man, they put the shoes on. I'm like, man. So I'm trying not to fall, and I can see that mother Sancho's all focused up, and he's trying to outdo me, right? That shit was funny, man. But I done all kinds of things. And it's crazy. It's amazing, man. The things I get to do around here, and I'm grateful, man. Narcotics Anonymous, man. I can't fucking express enough, the gratitude. The gratitude has to be put into action. I have to put it into action. I come in here tonight. I worked all day. I'm not going home to my nice. I own a house. I forgot to tell you, we bought a house. I got a I got a lot of material stuff, you know what I mean? But the network doesn't equal my self worth. You know what I mean? Like I could own all kinds of shit. I know Roxy could identify. All this shit. I could have all this shit, and I could be miserable inside. But when I go to meetings, talk to my sponsor, work my steps, and be a service man, I'm full. I don't got no time for the disease, man. Man, I have the shopping disease. That motherfucker wants to go shopping and shit. I got a home theater, and I got some new sofas, and fucking they shake when the bass rolls, when the bomb hits, the seats shake. I got big old woofers and shit on the wall. It's crazy. I got a big ass TV. I used to have a 13-inch TV that they lent me when I was in prison. And now I got an 85-inch TV. That I never get to watch because I'm always working and shit, right? But it's crazy, man. This shit is fucking amazing. I remember I used to see Jeff, 46 years, clean, man. 46. And when I first came, he'll have that van. He'll have a van like a surfer van, and he was a crane operator too. Right here as a longshoreman, as a trip, as an attraction. I'm an operating engineer, and my wife is an operating engineer as well. She's an inspector. Ooh, man, when she called me, I was out there working. I'm in the tower crane. I'm in those tower cranes. So I'm sitting up there, I'm operating, and I get a call, and she's crying. I go, what happened, babe? She goes, they called me, and I go, who called you? And the fucking cops or who? And she goes, no, the fucking local 12 called me, man. And I was like, hell yeah! I was like, woo, yeah. I was all hooping and hollering. So now we're both, doing pretty fair for a square today. It's crazy, man. Uh, Robert, okay. So I went to a meeting. I went home, and I got asked to share at the Andersons, and I already had like 7 years clean, and I go, and it was a big meeting, man, and I don't know, I just shot it, God spoke, you know what I mean, and because I forgot what I said, and then people lined up to come and talk to me and say, hey man, thanks for coming, and all this and that, and this guy came and he's like, what's up, Rob? And I said, what's up, Rob? It was Robert, my workout partner, and it's 2015, and here I am clean, you know what I mean? And here I am carrying the message. I'm giving him that taste of that freedom, like that chocolate that he gave me. I got to give him a taste of freedom. It's crazy, man. So he became my sponsor, Robert Villalba. You guys know him. He became my sponsor. He became my sponsor. And we worked all the 12 steps, and the traditions. He's got sponsors, and it's amazing what this program gives us, It's It's amazing, man. I can't fucking say it enough, man. I wrote some stuff because I'll fucking zone out, you know. Oh yeah, I remember when Tony we'll go to Tony's pad, you know, and do the step work. But some of the sponsor brothers, they just came to eat. You know what I mean? The motherfuckers just came to eat some fucking food and make a mess and not disrespecting my sponsor, man. My sponsor, man. Fuck that. Hey, Tony, that dude's full of shit. He ain't trying to work the step. And then, because I was protected of him, I still am protected of him, you know. I'll still, you know, and he'll tell me, man, don't worry about it. We can't, you know, we can't question his desire, you know, to stay clean, you know. And I would be so fucking focused on these guys, you know, that we're fucking with the funnies, you know. And later on, you know, I was seeing him in his recliner. He'll be sitting there and he'll be smiling, you know, and we'll be making a mess at his pad, you know. And he didn't care, you know, he had a gleam in his eye and he was smiling, man. And then, you know, years later, when I met the newcomer, you know, she became my wife, you know, and she was pregnant, you know, and we're gonna, Tony was gonna be born, little Tony. We went to the hospital, and then the fellowship showed up, you know, and they came and they were there when the baby was born, you know. I didn't want to cut the umbilical cord. I'm like, I'm cool, you know what I mean? And this other girl, Amanda, she went and cut the umbilical cord. So all you guys showed up. It was crazy, you know what I mean? Then I heard the timer. Then I went to, I told my sponsor, hey, I got an apartment. This was before I bought the pad. And I told him, let's go to my apartment, you know? And then I showed him my apartment. I had a TV on the wall, you know, and the leather recliner, you know, and they were eating right there, you know, they were making a mess, you know, and I was that one on the recliner with the gleam in my eye, you know what I mean? Shit's crazy, man. I didn't have nothing, man, but I was rich and lost, you know. I wanted to change, you know. I was willing to stay willing. To this day, I'm willing to stay willing. When Nancy called me, thank you again, I stayed willing to stay willing, man. I remember one time I was driving home from work, and I got to this stop sign, and there was a white cat. It was all dirty and shit. And I stopped at the stop sign in Long Beach, and the cat ran by. And when it jumped on the wall, it looked back at me, and I looked at it, and I was like, damn, that was like me on a sick one, you know? That was me on that man, right? All dirty and shit, right? So I'm driving home. I'm coming over the bridge, you know, I'm grateful, right? I'm like, man, thankful heart protects my negative thinking, man. You know, like, I'm glad, man. I used to be that cat, I'm thinking. And I get home, and I'm living up here in the hill, and I'm living in the back of this lady's house, you know, and I'll go back there, and she had a black cat. And the black cat was kind of fat, you know, and its coat was shiny, you know, and it would come up to me, and it would rub itself on me, you know, and I don't want no cat hairs on my clothes, right? But I'll pet it, you know, and I'm thinking of the dirty ass cat, and I'm like, damn, man, and I'll open the door, and the cat will come in the house, you know, and then we started a ritual, right? And I'll go in there, and when I'll go in there to grab the cat, he would just lay back, you know what I mean? And I'll surrender to a higher power than themselves, right? And that's what I've done around here, right? Like, I'm trying not to gain so much weight, my bald head shiny, you know. I try to, my fears have lessened, you know what I mean? And I surrender to a power greater than myself. It's crazy, it's amazing, man. I get to go on vacation instead of getting sent away on vacation, you know? I'm grateful, man. I've been given so much, man. Thank you, Tony. Thank you, man. Thank you, man. If you want to repeat after me, without God, there is no me. And without you, there is no we. Thank you for letting me share.